Talking with Justin after the game, he said that he didn't feel like he was completely prepared for what USC brought. Just wanted to know what the preparation was like heading into that SC game last Saturday.
Well, I think we prepared like we always do, and what they did was they kind of threw some stuff at us that they had kind of broke from their norm. They a lot more pressure, a lot more blitzing than what they had kind of done on average from game to game and everything. So that was a different deal. And then they really worked, and you could tell they'd worked kind of on some of our quick throws. They clouded the coverage a little bit more, went to a little bit more cover two to a side and everything. So that was just they had not shown a lot of that during the season. They'd shown some of that, and we'd worked on it, but that wasn't our focus and everything. So it was kind of an in-game adjustment. Hey, they're blitzing us more. They're blitzing on second down. They're blitzing on third down almost 100% of the time. They're playing a lot more two to the side of the blitz in that way. So understanding your hot throws are now going to be this. We got to get the line slid this way. This is how we got to pick it up and everything. So it was a kind of an in-game type adjustment, which is a good learning experience for him that teams can do that.
Yeah, is that just kind of a learning? He's on the learning curve because he is such a young quarterback, and these games are kind of the first time that he's seen a lot of this type kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, and I try not to make up too many, what I call them ghosts during the week. We sit there and watch 105 snaps of blitz, and they've done a blitz one time. Well, we're not going to change our whole protection scheme for that. It's like, okay, they've done this, but there's a good chance we're not going to see this. But if they do it, this is what we do. We talk about how we adjust within the game, but we're not going to try to put all that on the offense line or on the quarterback to overthink it, because the worst thing we can do is make them all of a sudden we're thinking about all these little things, and that way it's a lot more of, we kind of go with the what if plan. Well, this is what we expect from them, and then as coaches we kind of have the what if plan. If they do this, we need to do this. If they do this, we got to do this, and communicate it that way.
He seemed, I should say, to be taking the loss kind of hard after the game. That's kind of how he's been after a lot of these losses. What's that conversation with him like to get him back and get him going for Stanford?
Well, I think it's just it's the learning curve of he puts so much into it each week with his preparation. He's putting so much time and effort, and expectation is what you want a payoff for that. And when you don't get that by having success, by winning a football game, it's hard. And I mean, I've been through with a lot of quarterbacks that's the first time they've ever really worked this hard at the position and not had great success. Because if you look at most college quarterbacks had great high school careers, won a lot of games. Why? Because they were the best player on their team, and they made things kind of work. And this is kind of a new area or new thing for him to have to deal with. Well, I'm trying so hard, but it's not paying off the way I want it to and everything. But that's all part of growing as a quarterback and as a football team.
Do you feel like you guys identified the blitzes, or was it just a lack of execution of stopping the blitzes?
Well, we knew what they did. I mean, they didn't do any blitz that we hadn't seen or hadn't worked on and everything, and then it was just a matter of we didn't probably pick them up as well as we could, and then a couple times early they got some pressure on him, and then what happens to quarterbacks a lot of times, his clock and his head kind of sped up, and once that happens, it's a constant talk on the phones with him. Hey, you have more time than you think. And then normally it's the next day when you're watching video and you're going, okay, here, I could have stayed in there. I didn't need to move so much. Right, you got to expect the center's going to block that guy. He might not do it on the first step of the blitz, but he's going to come across there and get that guy for you. So that's all part of kind of getting his rhythm off, his timing off, and getting that back to that. And it takes some time to do that. He's not the first quarterback I've had go into that, and he probably won't be the last one.
With the running game struggling against SC, what was kind of how big of a challenge is that for a quarterback to not have kind of that crutch to rely on, paired with the fact that you're on the road and you're experiencing these blitzes as well?
Well, it's the run game is a quarterback's best friend and everything. And you saw, we were able to run the ball against Arizona State, and then what it does, it helps open up the pass game and everything. So, and we went into this game understanding they're really good against the run. They'd done a great job all year, and we thought we had schematically some ways to try to take advantage of them. We were able to get them into nickel personnel, which was I think was a plus for us with our two tight ends set. We were able to get them out of their base run defense, which was going to give us some more angles. We were able to execute that a little bit early on in the game, not nearly as much as we wanted to in that way. And then what it does is when you're not able to run the football, not executing a first down the way we wanted to, all of a sudden it becomes a lot of second down and longs, and which fall into third down and medium to third down and longs, and those fall on the quarterback's kind of feet, and then now you got to make plays. And then we asked him to make a lot more plays early in that game, a lot more plays in that game for us to be successful than what we had to in the Arizona State game. It's a lot easier to play with a lead or play in the positive side of things. When you're behind the sticks a little bit, it gets tougher, and And that's all part of what the position of quarterback, that's what your job is, to kind of fix the problems.
Talking to Jake Hansen earlier today, he was basically saying that the O-line took that loss kind of all on them, and that they felt like they just got beat up front, and that was the difference in the game. Is it that simple as far as that's why the offense wasn't functioning? It was just SC being able to beat you guys right at the line?
Well, I think the SC did a nice job with some of their pressures, and were able to get on the edges of our guys a little bit more and everything. But I think that's just the offensive line takes responsibility, just like if you ask Justin, I think he'd say he takes responsibility, and the receivers and the running backs. I mean, it's a group effort. Everybody could have played better in that football game. We could have made more plays at the quarterback position by far. The line could have definitely blocked better and protected better. The running backs could have hit. We could have found a few more holes watching the video. We could have done better there. Receivers could have made more plays. I mean, it's a full team loss, just like it's a full team win and everything. But I mean, everybody's got their little world they kind of live in, and that you get your job done, so everybody else can be successful.
Sam Darnold had a quote today about you guys are kind of messing with his head, your secondary, and showing some disguises that he hadn't seen before. When it's a young quarterback, do you expect teams to throw different stuff at you to really put pressure on them? Or is that just the price of doing business with a young quarterback? They got to get up to speed and learn all that stuff.
Well, there's some teams, but you kind of go in every week thinking what's their plan going to be. I mean, how are they going to try to rattle? And you're playing with a young quarterback and a young offensive line, and pressure is one way to kind of do that. And I think that's what Coach Pendergast kind of looked at and said, well, this is how I'm going to try to attack them. And they did it. And then if you're able to be successful with it early, then what you do is you get them out of that, because that's not their base. That's not what they want to be. We weren't able to do that early. I mean, going 3 and out, I think 3 of the first 4 drives. Guess what? Gave them all the idea that, hey, this is really working. And then they kind of kept doing it throughout the first half. I mean, we got to halftime, and basically, I think all but 1 second down they brought pressure, and almost every third down they brought pressure, which that wasn't the MO going into the game for them, but it became theirs because it was working for them. So, and that's part on us. If we go out and execute it on those first couple of drives and make some of the plays that we had the opportunity to make, then all of a sudden they have to kind of rethink their game plan and adjust in that way, as opposed to us having to adjust to them.
Some of the guys said you guys switched up a Monday practice a little bit, had kind of a little lighter at the end, some team building. What's kind of the thought going into practice these days?
Well, I think it was just Coach Helf's talk, week 10, and really we got the same amount of work done. Offensively, we were able to get three good team periods in, and then get our special team periods in. But we just kind of went right out from the team meeting beforehand, got on the field, and kind of jumped through kind of some of the stretch and those type of things, and got into the teach mode of. And at this time of the year, it's as much getting the guys' legs back, getting them feeling good, getting them mentally moving on to the next chapter, the next game, and not just rehashing what's kind of went on and that way. And also, as week 10 of the season, a lot of guys are dinged up. I mean, you're walking down there, how you feel? Well, I feel as good as I want to feel, and that's kind of where you're at in the season. And then when you add a 3-6 season on it, it hurts you. Everything hurts a little bit more and pulls you down a little bit more. So it's a process, but I think Coach Helf has done this in the past before. I don't think this was a shock, because the players weren't shocked by this. It was kind of like, oh, okay, here's what we do. I mean, we went out and we got really good work in. We got about 70 snaps of offense in today against some of their base looks with some of the plays that we're looking at. So I think it was real positive in that way. Now we can kind of build on that.
You guys continue to be aggressive when you were in the point toss and take the ball. You guys feel confident as an offense that you can score on that first possession? That start to wear on guys a little bit. We haven't, we get the ball, we're not doing it.
Well, it is. I think. I mean, I've always fought for win the toss, take the ball type mentality, and everywhere I've been, it's always been that way. And then depending on how the head coach feels about it is kind of the way it normally goes. I mean, and I think normally the defensive coaches always want to defer and play defense first, because they want their guys on the field first. But and you want to be. I mean, we're an aggressive offense. We're going to try everything, and we haven't been as good on the first drive as what we're capable of being or what we'd like to be. So but starting fast is a big deal. We need to work on that. And I mean, you can see what happened when we start fast. The whole team gets ramped up, and that's where kind of our responsibility is to the team when you start with the football, is go down and score.
This is a lighthearted question, but with the election tomorrow, if you had to pick a president and a vice president from this year's team, who would it be and why?
I would go president, probably Charles Nelson, because he's he's got a very bubbly personality, always smiling, always happy, and I completely trust him with everything we're doing. And then for vice president, I would have to say let's go Schneider, our kicker, because you really don't want him to be the president yet, but if he had to, he could step into the role and get the job done.
Jeff Hawkey's name is one that's been coming up a lot. You don't think he'd make a good president?
No, maybe Secretary of Interior or those types of things, but probably not president itself. He's got some outside, the way he kind of looks at the world is a little, wouldn't be the way I'd want things to go.